name is Charles Cameron McLeod. I was in the United States Navy. I came out as boatswain mate second class in the amphib Western Frontier. I was on LSM, which was a landing ship medium. My job was as a boatswain mate to see that the deck was run right, work with the gunner's mates, and do whatever the officers wanted done. I did. We were loaded with a D8 armored bulldozer on the front of our ship on a well deck and 5 Sherman tanks behind it. We laid off, we were assigned to go to Iwo Jima, and if I'm allowed to say it, we were in the middle of the Pacific Ocean when the old man, the skipper, said we were going to Iwo Jima. We all looked at each other and we thought it was a disease. Fact. He said the wardroom would be open and 2 or 3 of us could go down at a time, and one of the officers would be there to show us. And when I looked at it, it looked like fly dirt on a white table. That's how small Iwo Jima was. We laid to. When we got there, we were laying out and what we call laid to. Normally amphib ships nested, we were laying to. We were supposed to go in on the 7th day. And I was on deck. The blinkers were going, and I looked up and I asked the signalman, am I reading that right? He said, yeah. We went in. The Marines were pinned down. We dropped our ramp on their bodies. 17, 2 months. I enlisted. Funny, I enlisted in the Navy. My brother was a Marine and my father was a Marine. I went in under the V5 program, which was a Navy aviation program, and they sent me to college. I tell it as it is. When I got to college, I didn't stay too long because I knew too much for 2 people and not enough for 1. And I was shipped to Bainbridge, Maryland, and because of my earlier time in the service, I became a boot pusher. And I pushed 2 or 3 boots through boot camp, and I requested duty. I was transferred from Bainbridge, Maryland to Little Creek, Virginia, which was an amphib base. And it was a big hole in the world. That's about what I called it. From Little Creek, Virginia, where they made our flotillas up and our waves up and all our assignments, and we got on a cattle car and we went down to Fort Pierce, Florida for advanced training. I remember the CO down there, he's a big tall man from North Carolina by the name of Lieutenant Green. And you didn't dare foul up, because if you did, you got the bilge duty emptying the boats that leaked. Bilge duty was a pump that went back and forth. And it spurted a little bit of water. We were down there for intensive training. And it's funny, I can remember the name. We were shipped out of Fort Pierce, Florida. By then we had made our flotillas up, which were like, I don't know, 200, 300 men, broken down into waves, which were 15 boats basically to a wave with a lead coxswain, and we were shipped to California. There was an amphib debarkation point. We were given all kinds of clothing, and it looked like we were going to go shipping north. We had fur coats, fur lining, fur this, and we got aboard this big APA with a whole mess of Marines. And then that day, in them days, they had the signs, don't, a slip of the lip will sink a ship. Nobody knew where we were going, no posters were up. And we were on this ship, we looked like sardines in a can. And the first day out at sea, the old man came up, our old man came aboard, and he said, "This is your boat, this is your assignment, and these Marines are assigned to your boat." And throughout the cruise, we would have drills, how fast we could get to the boats and get them off the side. Then they secure. We said, we headed north, and I said, all this fur gear we got, we're going north. I didn't like it. I guess 2, 3, 4 days out, I don't remember now, you could feel it shift, and we wound up in Hawaii. In Hawaii, we did maneuvers and all that sort of stuff. And then we shipped out to Saipan. And Saipan was invaded in June. Tinian, the neighboring island, we invaded with the Marines. I was in small boats, LCVPs, which were made of plywood, and a machine gun would go right through them, and the coxswain sat up. The LCMs were bigger, 50-footers, and they had the coxswain had a steel cage around them. And you'd go in, and when we came off the big ship, we were told control boat. And we went out to the control boat, and we circled, and we circled, and we circled, just inside the breakers. And then we'd get the signal to go to APA, AKA, whatever, and we get loaded. And we went in. Dumped the Marines off, back down. If a boat broached, broaching means when it goes sideways on a beach, you did your best to get it off to clear the beach. I was very fortunate. My wave and I got in and out pretty good most of the time. I joined the Navy to see the world, and what did I see? I saw the sea. We sailed all over. But we never went anywhere, and you get a little, not homesick, but you get a little itchy. You couldn't even get on an island. And then we got the word that we would, when the old man came down one morning at muster, which was different. He normally didn't. And that's when he told us we were going to Iwo Jima. Anyway, we got to Iwo Jima and we laid out. The big Mo was there, the battleships were there, the landing craft were there, and it was D-Day morning. We went in, daybreak. When the first tank took off, he went to the left, Marines got behind it, and the next tank went to the right, and they got behind it, and then you heard the boom, 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 and things got quiet down. See, the Gooks were up on an airfield in Iwo, and they had all the old beat-up aircraft to hide behind, and they were firing down on us. Our job was to fire up and give the Marines cover while we were on the beach. We couldn't. The only thing, one of the things that impressed me most was the flamethrower. When that thing went off, it just, but the Gooks were really dug in. I guess I shouldn't use the terminology, Gooks. And that was the roughest that I saw. From Iwo Jima, we got word to go to Okinawa. We weren't in bad shape. I think we carried more ammunition than food. Okinawa, we were useless because Okinawa is where they came out, if it's of any value to you, with the kamikaze. And at Okinawa, it was very much like Guadalcanal, they said. The Marines walked in, and the Gooks waited till they got inside. The Gooks waited till they got inside and then circled around them. Okinawa was as rough fighting into the island as Guadalcanal was to the Marines. I know Guadalcanal because my brother was there. He had hand-to-hand combat. But anyway, after that, we went back to Pearl Harbor, and they were going to decommission us. And the old man, he was one of the finest people I knew. He said, we made it back to Pearl Harbor. We can make it back to the States. So we hit the States, and we came back on BJ Day. And we thought the celebration of Puget Sound was for us. When the war was over. And they decommissioned us. There were 60 men in the crew and 5 officers. Half of the crew went on Liberty for 30 days, 8 days traveling time. We flipped a coin. The other boatswain and myself and I lost, so I got the second 30 days. And then by the time they came back, we were back up in the dry dock and they were cutting us apart. And one day, amphibs lived in tents. I never was in the barracks except in boot camp. And I was walking down this dirt road, and up in the tree, a loudspeaker went off, and it said, McLeod, boatswain, second class, report to the MA shack, Master at Arms. Stupid me, I said, must be another McLeod. I went to the MA shack, and he says, hey, Boats, he says, where you been? I said, well, I was, So finally he said, this is your envelope. He said, you're taking a third-class gunner's mate and 2 seamen with you. You're going to pick up the USS Avoyal in Frisco. You're heading out towards Japan. Oh, I said. And there I was on a fleet tug, all by my lonesome. Then I met up with another boatswain on the tug. He had just been made. And we got the word that we were going to be the buoy for the minesweepers. A minesweeper is about 50 feet long, I would say, wooden. And at night, if you were laying in a sack in the bay, you could hear boom, they hit a mine. Or you go around and pick up batteries or whatever. Sasebo, Japan was a city in Kyushu, which is a southern island of Japan. Honshu is the main island. It was the filthiest, rottenest place I ever been in my life. Dirt, filth. Japan had everything to gain and nothing to lose. On Liberty, we would go to Honshu sometimes. We get on a army convoy, and we went up to Honshu one time, and we walked up this hill, and there was an old truck there, and the hood was up, and we looked in the truck, and it said, Carter carburetor made in the USA in a Japanese truck. Gospel truth. I had a couple of typical days. I don't brag about them because they happened, but it was my own fault. I was 17, 18 years old, maybe 19. I was in good shape. I was in excellent shape, my body. You could hit me and I'd look at you. And if you don't believe it, you can ask my kids. My grandson was swinging a 3-pound sledgehammer, hit me in the jaw. And he got all, I thought he was going to faint, and I said, don't worry, I've been hit harder by a fist. Anyway, the days I remember were, as I said, I was the youngest boatswain in our outfit. I studied the book, I knew my job, I liked my job. I liked the Navy. I was going to re-up. I never got to that. And Barbara, I took a movie. At night you'd be in the bay, and the big ships had movies. So we would get on a small boat from our ship to a big ship and watch. And one day I would take him over, and I had a small boat, and I bumped this guy's Jacob's ladder a little hard from the current. And he coiled down and he said, you're no coxswain, you're a... And he started down the ladder. Now, he was a junior OD up there. He didn't have... When he came down, I told about Hookman, take this... I went up and I swung and I hit him. I was in Japan when my papers for chief came through. See, you could be made aboard ship by your old man, but when you come to chief, you had to go through the bureau. And the papers come in. One day I was up on the forecastle, and one of the seamen said, "Hey, Boats, the old man wants to see you in the wardroom." I said, "What's up?" He said, "I don't know." He just said, "Tell Boats I want to see him." I walked in. I said, "You want to see me, sir?" He said, "Yes, sir, Chief, sit down." And stupid me, I said, "I made it." I wasn't even 22. He says, "You certainly did, Boats, get up." I looked at him, I said, "Excuse me, what do you mean?" He says, "Your papers came through as chief. The other papers came through for a summary court-martial for the fight you had, blah, blah." I said, "That was 6, 8, 9 months ago." Well, he said, "The papers caught up. And I can't put you in a brig, so it's a brig or a stripe." So I never really, although they treated me aboard ship as a chief. In fact, the crew bought me my garrison cap, which I never found. I never knew what happened to it. And then the other stripe was for another fight. I don't brag about it. I thought it was the thing to do in them days. White crosses. You saw them. They are the heroes. You can pin a medal on everybody, but they didn't come back. And the thing that gets me is we gave Iwo Jima back to the Gooks. The government gave Iwo Jima Island back to the Japanese with all those white crosses on it. For what? Well, I don't know. I look at things differently, I guess.